Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Joe Stars, Director of U.S. Programs for the Fund for American Studies. And on behalf of our Chairman, Randy Teague, our President, Roger Ream, welcome to the closing ceremony for the Fund for American Studies Summer Program 2019. I'd like to offer a warm welcome to our students, our internship supervisors, mentors, members of the TFAS Board of Trustees, Board of Regents, and a special thank you to our donors for providing generous scholarships to our students. Students, give a round of applause to our donors who are here. To our partners at George Mason University and Mark Funstein in particular, thank you for joining us today. Thank you for being such a positive and supporting partner in our academic programs. I also want to offer a special thank you to our outstanding faculty. We're so grateful for all of you. If you are a TFAS faculty member, please stand so we can recognize you. I also want to offer a special thank you to the family members of our students who are with us today. Thank you for sending us your son or daughter to our program. We know the sacrifices that so many of you made in order for them to come to DC to live, learn, and intern. It's been a joy to get to know them, to see them thrive, and to know that they are now alumni of the Fund for American Studies and part of the TFAS family forever. Additionally, I'd like to thank our partners at the Ronald Reagan Presidential Foundation and Institute. And through this partnership, we are able to offer the Leadership in the American Presidency Program, or LTAP for short. So Meredith and Kimberly, thank you for being great partners. And to my colleagues in the U.S. programs and the entire TFAS clan, thank you for being such a great team. Thank you for giving of yourselves all throughout the summer. To our summer program advisors, Jose, Michael, Blair, Caleb, Carson, and Thomas, thank you. All of you All of you guys demonstrated true servant leadership this summer and gave your all to our students, so thank you so much. I would also like to recognize all the award winners who are listed in our program. These students were recognized for excellence in academic courses and an outstanding overall participation, and they received their awards at the ceremony previous to this. So would all the award members here please stand up? I'd like to also recognize our Service and Citizenship Academy of students. These select group of students were invited to be part of our inaugural program based on their commitment to civic engagement and community service. All these students interned this summer at a nonprofit organization and participated in additional guest lectures, briefings, and service projects. Could all our SCA students please stand? As I mentioned earlier, we're so grateful to our faculty members for providing excellent courses for our students. I'd like to ask Dr. Ann Bradley to come forward to say a few words. Dr. Bradley is the George and Sally Mayer Fellow for Economic Education and the Academic Director for TFAS, and she teaches the economic course for our international program as well as our fall and spring semester programs. Dr. Bradley.
Thank you. Well, this is the day, isn't it? You've been waiting for it for a long time, and when you began this journey 8 weeks ago, we promised you a few things. We promised you that you would have adventure by living in DC and working on the Hill and other places in the city. We promised that lifelong friendships would form, and we hope that they have begun forming. And incredible learning in the classroom through our partnership with George Mason University. And the other thing we promised is that it would go fast. And so as I was sitting with my own students last week, we were kind of talking about how fast it went when we didn't think. Some of those weeks are long, aren't they? And the days are long, but they're joyous, and now you can come to the end of them and look at what you've accomplished, and we hope that you have inspiration for the future. So I want to talk about something that I think is really important and so true of all of our TFAS students, which is that you all have passion. You wouldn't be here if you didn't. Especially in the summer program where there's a lot of hustle and bustle, everything is concentrated in an 8-week program. You're away from the comforts of home. I presume you could be on the beach or at the pool. And instead, you're working hard in the classroom and in your internships. That passion is important. It's necessary for you to change the world, which all of you want to do. Now, we've joined that passion with intellectual power. And that's really important, an important part of what we try to do in the classroom. And we think that the key to that is teaching and helping you discover the economic way of thinking, which is a beautiful way of thinking. It doesn't require that you go get a PhD in economics, so no worries there if you weren't planning on that. But what it does is it allows you to see the world for what you want it to be and take small steps to get it in that direction. And it does so by imposing upon us certain realities that we cannot ever forget, even if they're inconvenient to us, like we live in a world of scarcity. So if you were in my class, we talked about that a great deal, didn't we? But it's important for all of you. So we hope that now that you came with the passion, you have the intellectual firepower, that now we have some real direction to make steps to change the world to be a better place. And I want to kind of leave with one thought. I think it's very popular in our modern culture to be negative, to look at the world or to look at the past and say it was better before. And by almost every margin that we measure well-being and progress, things are better. And things are getting better. There's real problems in the world, but there's real hope that we can eliminate some of those problems, one of those being eliminating abject poverty. And so if I was standing here in 1980 delivering this address, I would not be able to make that claim. And if I did, no one would believe me. But today we can really make that claim, and we're seeing it happen. And so there's steps to a better world. And so in my classroom, and I've tried to spend time with each of the programs, one of the things I do, and in some cases I give this as an exam question, the question is, how do cities and towns get fed every day? And so one of my favorite stories is the story of Boris Yeltsin, who came to the United States in 1990, president of Russia, former Soviet Union, and he was overwhelmed by his trip to a routine grocery store because, see, it's not about technocratic planning. It's not about having a lot of money, and it's not about having a lot of bureaucratic agencies. Grocery stores are full of the things we want because markets make that happen. And so there's a way to prosperity and a better future. And so we hope that we've opened you up to that way. We hope we've given you new questions to ask, which I think is the best part of being a student. It's not getting all the answers, but now you have new questions to ask. So we hope you leave as inspired as we are to have had you here with us. And now you are lifelong friends of TFAS, so we all hope that you will stay in touch. Thank you so much.
So it's tradition here at TFAS to officially begin the ceremony with the Pledge of Allegiance and an invocation. Here this afternoon to lead us in the pledge is Samuel Wright, a public policy and leadership major at the University of Mississippi. Sam is an Air Force ROTC student, and he will be commissioned as a second lieutenant in the Air Force upon graduation. He participated in our International Affairs program this summer, and his internship was with the National Defense University, and his hometown is Hendersonville, North Carolina. Leading us in our invocation is Matthew McMurray, a senior psychology major at Brigham Young University. He was a part of our public policy program, and his internship this summer was with Mil Mujeres Legal Services, and his hometown is Windsor, Colorado.
Well, please rise, ladies and gentlemen. and repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Woo!
Dear Heavenly Father, we thank Thee for giving us life and opportunities. We thank Thee for friends we have made and for the sense of community and inclusion we have felt. We thank Thee for opportunities to meet people that have loved and inspired us, people who have helped us do good, and people who have the potential to help us do good in the future. We also thank Thee for opportunities to learn about different ways that we can do good. We thank Thee for the opportunity to learn about different problems and challenges. And now, Father, we ask Thee to please guide us and help us to know what specific causes Thou wouldst have us dedicate ourselves to now and in the future. We ask Thee for desire and passion to help others. We ask for the strength and the wisdom to help others effectively. Father, as we move forward, please purify our hearts, or in other words, our desires, goals, and motives. Please help us to resist the temptation to be motivated by anything but our desire to love Thee and love others. Please help us to cling to honesty, integrity, transparency, sincerity, and a desire to do good. As Thou knowest, each one of us has our own struggles that we face. These struggles are mental, emotional, physical, situational, and varied in nature, but Thou hast the power to help with all of them. We ask Thee to please strengthen us and help us in our challenges. Help us to find comfort and empowerment and to feel Thy love. We thank Thee for loving us, and we thank Thee for TFAS's hand in facilitating the wonderful opportunities that we have had this summer. In the name of Jesus Christ, I pray, amen.
Thank you. So the next part of the ceremony, we're going to hear from 3 students, and they're going to be talking about what it's like to live and learn in Washington, D.C. The learning component comprises, of course, our classes, our guest lectures, but also our site visits and the whole host of many opportunities that you all participated in this summer. We'll be joined by Angela McCallum, a senior economics major at Clemson University. She participated in our public policy program, and her internship this summer was with Citizens Against Government Waste, and her hometown is Abbeville, South Carolina. Also speaking will be Jesse Anderson, a senior journalism major at the University of Maryland. Jesse was in our business and government relations program, and this summer she interned with the Computing Research Association. Her hometown is Baltimore, Maryland. And then Kennedy Parkins, a public relations and advertising major, will join us. Kennedy is a student at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, and she was a participant in our journalism and communications program. And this summer, she interned at a nonprofit PR firm called Young Voices, and Kennedy is from Huntersville, North Carolina.
Hi, everyone. My name is Angela McCallum, and I want to be completely open with you guys and let you know that I waited until the last minute to write this speech. And that's not because that I am a procrastinator or didn't want to be standing here in front of you today. It's because I was too busy trying to fit in as many memories into the summer as I could, which actually worked out pretty well for me because I was asked to speak about the live component in the tagline, Live, Learn, Intern. This past week, my group of new best friends and I had a lot of one last time moments left to have and a few things left to check off our bucket list. There was time for one more Friday afternoon jazz in the garden, one more Saturday movie night, and one more Sunday night family dinner. We had a few new memories to make, like kayaking on the river and spending hours at the Eastern Market last weekend. The places I saw and the things that I did would not have been half as fun if I did not have the most crazy, entertaining group of friends that I met through TFAS. Emily, Callie, Haley, and Jess all still laughed with me when our plans did not go quite right. Getting on the wrong metro line, getting completely soaked in the rain at a Nationals game, and yes, even having appendicitis this summer was one of the most memorable parts of the summer, all because of the people that I was blessed enough to spend those moments with. While standing here today, I can honestly say that this summer was nothing like I expected. I truly came here thinking that DC was just another step in my career path and TFAS was just another internship program. However, this program gave me the courage to go up and shake the hand of someone I respect rather than standing in the back at a networking event or the TFAS annual conference or the guest lectures. Attending every extra event this summer and having the courage to simply introduce myself connected me to so many people in TFAS who are so willing to help me start a career in DC after I graduate in December. President Roger Reagan, as well as everyone in the policy department at Citizens Against Government Waste, have inspired me and encouraged me to never sell myself short. They spent time introducing me to their DC network and updating me when they heard of opportunities they believed that I would succeed at. I'm confident when I say that any job or internship that I get in January will be because of the time that someone I met this summer has invested in me. When I received the email asking me to speak on behalf of the Public Policy and Economics program track, I was honored but so nervous at the same time. I was not scared that I wouldn't have the right words to say or that I would stutter on stage, but I was anxious because I had no idea how I was going to consolidate all of the memories from the past 2 months into only 3 minutes. I hope that while I was up here speaking, you took the time and were able to quickly think back on a few of the moments this summer that you lived life to the fullest and the people that were by your side when you did. And while it is important to reflect on all the wonderful moments you had, life is far too short to concentrate on just that. I challenge you to instead look to the future and how this summer has changed that for you. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much, Josh Wahlberg, and thank you, Mary, for allowing me to speak about the wonderful Business and Government Relations Group. I'm Jesse Anderson, and I'm thrilled to say that I am now an alum of the Tisdale Fellowship and BGR programs. I've been asked to speak about what I've learned both inside and outside of the classroom. I participated in 2 classes this summer, Ethics and Leadership and the Economics of Public Choice. The former explored the theoretical contours of ethical leadership, covering aspects like existentialism, free will, and the degree to which we can actually control our freedom. As you might imagine, existentialism and a computer science major don't exactly mix so well. But my teachers, Frank Ciato and Michael Collins, encouraged thoughtful discussion among students. The questions that were posed, such as whether all humans can maintain the essence of their freedom when confronted with formidable circumstances, sparked heated, though respectful, dialogue among students. And these nuanced discussions were also found within my economics class, where students sought to dissect public choice paradoxes that didn't always have a clear answer. Public choice can make you very optimistic, but it can also give you a healthy dose of pessimism. Is the impetus behind the majority of our decisions money? These questions, among others, like what defines a rational actor, provoked intellectually stimulating debates that often made me question my core set of beliefs. These conversations with other students, especially those within the BGR program, broadened my understanding of the world around me. Basic conversations, like why my roommate hates peanut butter, turned into a discussion about the adverse implications of palm oil on the environment. I'm still convinced that she just hates peanut butter, but I digress. But the most important lessons that I've learned during our program were derived from conversations with other students. These students in the program, like Meraki, Katie, and Marcus, asked hard-hitting questions that made me reevaluate my views. Josie, Andrea, and David helped teach me more about social justice issues with every comment that they made in class. Spencer, Alexis, and Joshua motivated fellow students to venture beyond their comfort zones. Preston, Jayme, Charisma, and Khan always found a way to make everyone laugh. Evan, Kelsey, and Cameron inspired me with their desire to not accept ideas that were discussed in class at face value. And finally, Louisa, Jenny, and Perry made me see the value in looking at all sides of an issue, especially those that ran counter to my own. You learn by listening. The fruit borne by conversations with others is not always sweet, as disagreements can often be hard to digest. But we should listen to others not because we want to disagree, but because we want to see what's truly behind the words. You never know what someone is going to say, and ultimately we are not as different as we seem. And I am grateful to be surrounded by people who can thoughtfully analyze the fabric of our society, who understand the inner workings of our political system, and who recognize the importance of speaking with those who disagree with you. I want to thank all of the students within the TFAS program, the TFAS staff, especially Josh, Carson, Mr. Stars, and Mr. Ream, for making this summer unforgettable. Thank you.
In regards to the speaking and external events, we have learned a tremendous amount. Hi, my name is Kennedy Parkins, and I'm a rising senior at UNC Chapel Hill. I double major in public relations and Spanish, and for the past 8 weeks, I have had the pleasure of working as a PR intern for Young Voices. If you were to ask me at the beginning of the summer if I had any idea of what I was getting myself into, the answer would have definitely been no. But after 8 weeks of meeting new people to make meaningful connections, going to on-site visits that are exclusive, and discovering what I want to pursue in my career, this summer was unforgettable to say the least. So I know that the moment that I return to my home and leave DC, the first set of questions my family are gonna ask me is, what did you take away from this program? What'd you learn? What do you wanna do with your life? When are you moving out? Completely joking, I'm just kidding. But luckily, thanks to TFAS, I feel so well equipped to answer these questions. So number one, what did I learn? Well, from the variety of guest lectures and the series of events, I seemed to notice there was a common theme present. Connections are everything, and individuals have stories. In a guest lecture event, senior producer at NBC, Jenny Vasquez, described how her consistency and her ability to maintain her connections drove her career. From being a college intern to later becoming a freelance producer, and finally working at one of the leading broadcasting companies in the country. Her story is unique. On a small group visit, Fox News producer at America's News headquarters, Gabriella Cifutelli, explained how her connections helped her to work in the top media markets of the country, being New York City and DC. From being a college associate to becoming a production assistant, to later being one of the producers at the leading news networks in the nation, her story is unique. In the journalism and communications track, we really value the ability to tell individual stories. And the Alumni Roundtable gave us the opportunity to do just that. We learned the stories of 50 working professionals who also happen to be some TFAS alumni. And by the way, I'm still waiting on some of you guys to respond to me on LinkedIn, so make that connection. Number two, what was your biggest takeaway? Well, paths are not clear. On a private tour of the National Press Club, senior reporter at Investment News, Mark Sheff, informed us that we should not try to find our dream jobs right after we graduate. He encouraged us to explore our interests and to delve into our passions. And he told us that it's just not okay we don't have to follow this specific path, despite this constant pressure that we have to do so. Number three, what do you want to do with your life? TFAS. I still need help answering that question. So in addition to the opportunities that TFAS has provided me, I've learned an immense amount of information from the individuals in this room. I admire your work ethic, your diligence, and your grit. 8 weeks, 7 guest lectures, 3 site briefings, and numerous small group tours later, we have finished this program more knowledgeable than when we began. I am so grateful for the memories of visiting ABC, Fox, and I-24 news studios. I'm grateful for eating dinner every Sunday with my friends. Hopefully, I'll have for a lifetime. And I'm grateful to be here with you guys. I look forward to the impact we will have in years to come.
Thank you, guys. So next up, we're going to hear from two students about their internships here in Washington. Our first speaker will be Kyle Hooten, who is a junior from St. Olaf's College. He's a political science major and was a participant in the Leadership in the American Presidency program. His internship this summer was with the Daily Caller news site. Kyle hails from Manchester, Minnesota. And Natalie Friend, a senior international studies major at the University of Arkansas. Natalie participated in our international affairs program, and her internship this summer was with the Association of Diplomatic Studies and Training, and her hometown is Overland Park, Kansas.
There we go. Good afternoon. My name is Kyle Hooten, and I believe that I can speak for all of us when I say that today, the conclusion of our TFAS summer internship experience is both a sad and grateful occasion. Just a few short months ago, we were all sitting at our respective colleges, planning our summers and looking for opportunities. In my case, I was watching the snowfall from my St. Olaf College dorm room in Minnesota, dreaming of spending the summer in a much warmer Washington, D.C. Thanks to TFAS, the LTAP track specifically, my hopes were realized when I got an email back from the Daily Caller News Foundation saying that they would like me to spend the summer writing for them. After these 8 weeks interning here in our nation's capital, I will be returning to Minnesota a changed man. On my flight into Reagan at the beginning of the summer, I was fairly certain that interns are just as anonymous as they are disposable. Now, despite the fact that my desk will be filled by another intern next week, and I still don't have 50,000 Twitter followers, I now know that us interns can play a meaningful role. During my first week of writing for the Daily Caller News Foundation, I decided that it would be fun to wander back to the back of the office and see what the video team does with their high-spec computers and endless array of cameras and microphones. Very shortly, in addition to writing, I found myself holding a news camera, feet away from protesters who were getting arrested in front of the White House as opposing political groups clashed on Pennsylvania Avenue. In addition to filming DC's protests, I got to spend time consulting with experts about the news cycle. When Russia announced that they're perfecting a concerning new missile technology, I got to speak with representatives from the Pentagon and the Department of Defense on how this new Russian technology will impact our national security. When scandals broke regarding the 2020 election, commentary from experts and strategists was only a phone call away. On the night of the Democratic primary debates, we interns at the DCNF got to participate, providing real-time coverage and analysis, turning out dozens of articles and videos into the early hours of the morning. Working with experienced editors and impactful journalists has taught me that even as an intern, you don't have to be disposable or anonymous. Being a college student is no hindrance for a motivated person with an internet connection, a cell phone, and a desire to impact the world around them. Yes, going back to small-town Minnesota will feel slow-paced compared to the buzz of this city. The lifestyle enjoyed by journalists, politicos, and us lucky TFAS interns is nothing compared to what St. Olaf College will be. However, I will sleep well at night, knowing that this summer gave me confidence and gratitude. Confidence that I have the skills necessary to compete in the professional realm. Confidence that I can leave my mark on the world around me. And gratitude to TFAS for bringing this experience together for us all. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Natalie Friend, and I'm from Kansas City. This December, I will graduate from the University of Arkansas with a triple major in International Studies, French, and Political Science. I participated in the International Affairs program this summer with TFAS, and I interned with the Association for Diplomatic Studies and Training. I came here from the Midwest, from Kansas, a place where I've named my car Dorothy, and where we don't really have swamps, real or fabled. I, like many others, had no idea what to expect when I arrived this summer. I researched and I prepared, but when I showed up on the doorstep of Washington, I really only knew just how badly I wanted to excel. I've known that I want to be a diplomat for years. But what is a diplomat? How do you become one? Like many of the careers here, it is not linear. Through my internship, I have been fortunate enough to figure some of this out, spending my entire summer deeply immersed in the experiences of American diplomats across history. I have helped conduct interviews with retirees, researched archives, written countless articles, and become familiar not only with the oral history process, but with State Department culture, protocol, and personnel. Through my internship, I've gotten to know the stories of diplomats like William, who organized a national tour of the United States for Soviet astronauts in 1969, or Margaret, who, prior to her diplomatic career, worked as NBC's first female radio correspondent during World War II. There was Robert, who found a unique way to keep snowplowed in the American Embassy in Moscow, Judith, who stood in for the American First Lady at an international conference, Bruce, who survived the Iranian hostage crisis, and Yan, who fought for the rights of LGBTQ people in the federal government. With each one of these incredible stories I've read or heard or written about, I've gotten to develop my knowledge of and passion for diplomacy. My internship has reinforced the value for me of the singular moments of drama, strength, hardship, or humor that we all have in our lives. Looking back over my own internship here, I can say with great confidence that it has been nothing short of amazing, serendipitous even. I hope that yours have been as well. Briefly, I'll share my favorite moment from my own life. A few weeks in, I was invited by my mentor to tour her workplace. I happened to have a TFAS event in her building that morning, so the timing could not have been more perfect. After my event, she escorted me upstairs, showed me the conference rooms, personally introduced me to the other staff members, and took a few minutes to show me her boss's personal office. That building was the Department of State headquarters, just down the street. That boss was Secretary of State Mike Pompeo. Here I was, Dorothy from Kansas, standing in the middle of Mahogany Row, in rooms where treaties are signed, bilateral negotiations are held, and where foreign dignitaries visit for tea. That was my moment from the summer, and perhaps one of the best moments I'll have in a long time. Moments like these, or like those I wrote about in my internship, aren't just the product of fate. All of the individuals I've come to know this summer, both on paper and in person, at work and at TFAS, in class and on the street, have worked hard. Like many of the people you've met, they've stayed persistent, motivated, optimistic. It's up to us to learn from their stories as we write our own. Follow the yellow brick road, but don't be afraid to stray from the path. Stay open to possibility, and when it arrives in front of you, don't let it get away. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. So next, we'll be watching a short video presentation of highlights of your summer.
Wow, I get choked up watching that. And I think it's the 28th year I've been able to watch it as president of this organization. It's just wonderful. As I said when you arrived 8 weeks ago, this is our 50th summer at TFAS of holding summer programs like this. And I think it gets bigger and better every year. Thank you so much for spending your summer with us. It means so much to all of us. I thought I'd just, while introducing our keynote speaker, touch on a few impressions from the summer that I observed, observations of mine. As our chairman, Randy Teague, said to all of you 8 weeks ago, this is going to be the fastest 8 weeks of your life. And watching that little presentation makes me realize, maybe more accurately, it's the fullest 8 weeks of your lives. You guys took it all in. You added to the official activities with all the explorations and other things you did this summer, so I congratulate all of you. I gleaned a few observations from the summer, from the events I was able to attend. And one of the things I picked up right at the beginning at our first session at George Mason, when we listened to Carith Foster, who stressed the importance of diversity, of mutual respect for each other, and of the importance of listening to opinions that may differ from us. She recommended we all get a friend who has a differing perspective. And that came out from the presentations today, that many of you did take on that advice and had the opportunity for constructive, interesting conversation in class, outside of class, as you went through the summer. At our Business and Government Affairs dinner, Senator Tim Scott of South Carolina advised students that they should lean into failure and made a very interesting point on that topic. We all make mistakes, but we don't all learn from our mistakes. We don't all grow from our mistakes, so we need to lean into failure. Failure comes from engaging in life, and that's so important. At our journalism breakfast, journalist David French emphasized to students that before you can seek justice in the world, you must first pursue the truth, that justice is based on the true and the good. And I thought that was a very important observation, particularly for journalists to hear. At our Alumni Roundtable, which I know some of you said was one of the highlights of the summer, you had the opportunity to hear from alumni and donors who were there, who offered career advice and other words of wisdom. There was a discussion at one table early in the evening that was related to me by a donor who was there, and it provoked her so much that after a few weeks considering the conversation she had with some of you, she wrote an op-ed that appeared in the Wall Street Journal on Saturday. And what Freda Levin said in that op-ed was the reaction to a student saying that her success was based on luck. Maybe one of you here said that to her. So in her op-ed, she wrote, quote, "Success doesn't come from luck, but from working smart, having a good attitude, taking risks, thinking creatively, being prepared, and working hard. And it takes doing that day after day, year after year." So I thought that was good advice I wanted to share, even though it was presented in the Wall Street Journal, but was the result of this program. I heard a lot of comments from you throughout the summer about things you'd learned, about takeaways. But some memorable words stuck with me that one of you said at lunch last week at TFAS. Be wrong gracefully. I like that. Be wrong gracefully. Very good advice, I think, for all of us. I thought I'd mention a story I heard recently about George Washington. Some of you, all of you, maybe most of you went to Mount Vernon. Evidently, discord and polarization isn't something new in our country. In 1754, before we were even a country, George Washington was supporting someone named Fairfax for office in an election, running against William Payne, P-A-Y-N-E. One day, as was reported in the Alexandria Gazette, an altercation took place in the courthouse yard between Washington and Mr. Paine, in which Paine knocked Washington to the earth with a blow. The account goes on. Great excitement prevailed as Paine was known to be firm and stood high, and Washington was beloved by all. The account said that Washington's troops rushed to the barracks and would have made short work of Mr. Paine had not Washington pacified them, assuring them that he knew the proper course to take. Well, at that time, duels were not banned by public opinion, the account goes on to say. So all assumed a duel was imminent. In fact, the next morning, Washington sent for Paine, suggesting they meet at a tavern. The assumption was that when Paine arrived there, there'd be 2 pistols sitting on the table. Instead, when Paine arrived, there was a decanter and 2 wine glasses. Washington began by apologizing to Mr. Paine. Mr. Paine, to err is human. I was wrong yesterday, but if you have had sufficient satisfaction, let's be friends. What a lesson in civility that is, of even forgiveness, a virtue. Paine and Washington did become friends from that day, and William Paine served as a pallbearer at George Washington's funeral. I heard from many of you who noted that our emphasis on civility and civil discourse was a lesson that you absorbed. That's the lesson, I think, of this Washington story, and one that we clearly tried to emphasize this summer. At the opening ceremony, I paraphrased Epictetus that God designed us beautifully with 1 mouth and 2 ears and expects us to use them proportionately. Well, if you did listen a lot this summer, you'll leave here with new perspectives to consider and much wisdom to incorporate into your personal lives. My parting advice to you is to go through life with a spirit of gratitude. Be grateful for the opportunities that come your way throughout your life. Be grateful, as Professor Bradley said, that you were born at a point in history where material prosperity has exceeded even the wildest imaginations of people who came before us. We all have a duty to be grateful. You and I are the lucky ones. You're the lucky ones for the fact that you were born at the onset of the 21st century, not in 500 BC or 1500 BC or 1900, just before 2 major world wars and the millions who died under tyranny. I hope that you are grateful for your TFAS experience this summer, and particularly for the staff that works so hard to give you new opportunities every day. Joe thanked our program assistants for their hard work. I'd like you to join me in thanking Joe Stars, Colin, Rob, Josh, Holly, Chase, Mary, Melissa, Dana, Shane, everyone on the team of program staff that took you through the summer and made all this possible. Thank you all. I think I got everyone. Hopefully I didn't leave anyone out from the program staff there, but it was a great team with our program assistants working hard throughout the summer. I also joined Joe Stars in thanking our faculty for dedicating the summer months to teaching. They are all so passionate about spending the summer with you in the classroom, offering you excellent courses, as are our friends at George Mason, the Ronald Reagan Institute, and George Washington University. 2 more things before I introduce Chris Ullman. I know we have a number of parents here, so please join me in thanking the parents who are here and those not here who have helped facilitate this opportunity for you this summer. Thank you to the parents. Finally, one last story. Yesterday, I met a student for coffee over here at Whole Foods. And I got my cup, went to self-serve the coffee, and they were out. And they were in the process of bringing out new coffee, so a little bit of a line gathered. 3 of us were waiting for the new coffee. And when it arrived, I said to a woman who had just walked up behind me, "Oh, go ahead, you get yours first. You look like you're going off to do very important work today and to change the world." And she said to me, "Oh no, I'm just an intern." And I said, "Are you with TFAS?" And she looked at me blankly. She wasn't with TFAS. And I right away said to myself, of course she wasn't at TFAS, or she would have said, "I'm off to change the world." And that's what you guys are going to do. You're interns this summer, but you're going off to change the world. We're behind you 100%, so keep in touch with TFAS and count on us for any help we can be along the way. Well, it's my pleasure to introduce to you Mr. Chris Ullman. Chris is a 4-time national and international whistling champion. He won those crowns in 1994, 1996, 1999, and in 2000. He has performed, as a result, with major symphonies. At the White House, he's serenaded presidents in the Oval Office. He's whistled at the national anthem at major sporting events and stadiums around the country. He's entertained millions on TV and radio. He whistled at the TFAS 50th anniversary gala at the National Building Museum. It's been a passion of his, whistling. Chris started his puckered pursuits at the age of 5. He says he whistled incessantly while delivering newspapers as a teenager. He jammed with jazz bands in college, and he's worked the open mics at places here in Washington, D.C. He's competed 9 times in national and international whistling competitions, and he served as a judge. This has led him to appear on such things as The Tonight Show, The Today Show, CNN, NPR, CNBC. He's been featured in the New York Times and the Washington Post. He's got an extensive repertoire, including classical, blues, jazz, Broadway, rock. I haven't asked him, but he can probably rap whistle. He's been the 2000 Lillian Williams Whistling Entertainer of the Year, and he has in 2004, he released a debut CD, The Symphonic Whistler. He's been inducted into the International Whistling Hall of Fame, something I know you all aspire to, right? It's remarkable, this achievement. And by day, when he's not whistling, he's had very important jobs. He's been the Director of Global Communications for the Carlyle Group, a major investment firm here in Washington, D.C. and around the world. He recently founded his own company, the Ullman Group. He's the author of a great book, Find Your Whistle: Simple Gifts, Touch Hearts, and Change Lives. You can find him on YouTube. He's done 2 TEDx talks. I recommend both. One's about whistling. The other's a very inspiring message and a story from his life. Chris is a member of the Fund for American Studies, the TFAS Board of Regents, a very generous supporter of our scholarship funds. Today we're blessed to have with him his mother, his wife Chris, his son Justice, and his daughter Libby. So he's going to talk about something we have not talked about this summer, something that the testimonials didn't touch on this summer, an important message for us all to hear. I'm eager to hear it. So please give a loud TFAS whistle welcome to Chris Ullman.
Let me hear that whistling again. All right. I think I'll be seeing some of you at the international competition in a few years. Well, thank you, Roger, for that very, very wonderful introduction. I'm truly grateful. So I'm humbled and so grateful to have the opportunity to speak with each of you today. And as I look out across the sea of faces, I'm reminded of my own time as an intern. The year was 1984, a mere 35 years ago. And I was similarly filled with excitement and anticipation and maybe some trepidation about what the future held. I learned a lot in my internship, especially how to think and how to act like a professional. It was a powerful experience. I even got to sit in the House gallery during President Reagan's 1984 State of the Union address. Wow, that was cool. I remember it clearly to this day. But one thing I didn't learn was to pay really close attention to the people I was interning with. So, please take a moment and look at the people sitting around you. Literally, I want you to do that. Okay. Remember everyone's name and face because you may be interning with a future famous or infamous person. You see, when I was an intern, I worked in the office of then Representative Chuck Schumer, now New York's senior senator. My fellow intern in Congressman Schumer's office that semester was someone who went on to be a New York City councilman, then a member of Congress, then a famous photographer and tweeter. His name, Carlos Danger, also known as Congressman Anthony Weiner. So, it's true. Thankfully, he remained fully clothed whenever we were together. So pay attention. You never know who you're sitting next to or what they may become or do. All right. Well, the thing I like best about graduation is that they provide a few special moments to reflect on the experience, whether it be high school or college or grad school, or in today's case, an awesome internship program. Last fall and in the spring, as you were considering what to do this summer, you probably had options. Get a job, do an internship, maybe even write the great next novel. As you discussed it with your parents, I suspect they were in favor of options 1 and 2, but a little skeptical of the novel writing option. Can't imagine why. Parents are so hard to figure out sometimes, right, children? Okay. In everyone's minds, especially as you consider the difference between making money in a job versus paying money to do an internship, you are probably thinking, what's the trade-off? What's the takeaway? How will paying all this money for an internship benefit me now or in the future? Well, I can think of a few things. You'll develop your network. Learn how organizations actually run. Develop your own writing and analytical thinking. Learn how to dress, act, and speak in a professional manner. And maybe actually learn something about government, politics, or advocacy. These are all important outcomes that will have profound impacts on your personal and professional pursuits for the rest of your life. For example, I learned how to write and edit much better when I was an intern. My boss in Chuck Schumer's office was a total hard ass about writing. It has to be perfect, I can remember her saying over and over. Perfect? I thought, that's not even possible. Everything I handed back to her had so much red on it. When I got it back, I turned red with frustration. Hate is probably too strong a word, but I definitely had an intense reaction to her. But that toughness, that attention to detail, helped make me the talented writer that I am today. She instilled in me high standards that have guided me for the past 32 years as a DC professional. Hopefully, each of you will have similar examples, small and large lessons that make you a better writer, a better employee, a better networker, a more knowledgeable person about public policy. Those are all important things that will stay with you for a lifetime. But there's a final lesson that I want to share with you, which I believe can make you a better friend, a better spouse, a better citizen, a better human. something that will help you be part of the solution as we live our lives as individuals and as part of a community. And that thing is love, the ultimate simple gift. Bet that wasn't on your list of things you might learn during your TFAS internship. But I think that's why TFAS asked me to talk with you today. Because the TFAS senior team has been around for a long time, and like me, they realize that there's more to life than economics, public policy, and networking. Before I go any further, I'll tell you my definition of love, which has been developed across 56 years of life, 32 of which have been in DC, not necessarily a town you'd associate with love. Simply put, love is caring about another person because of your shared humanity. Let me say that again. Love is caring about another person simply because of your shared humanity. Put another way, I love you because you exist. And because I love you, I want what is good for you. We are all children of God, and the most important mandate we have as individuals, after loving God, is to love one another. So love is the foundation. And speaking of foundations, think of the buildings you've seen these past 8 weeks. The Washington Monument, the Lincoln Memorial, the U.S. Capitol, the Library of Congress. They are spectacular structures that have stood the test of time because they have solid foundations. And in the case of the Lincoln and Jefferson memorials, I speak from personal experience, having toured their subterranean basements. Their foundations are deep, pylons driven 100 feet into bedrock, with complicated lattice structures of concrete and iron to provide stability and distribute weight. They are engineering masterpieces, but you never see them. You only see the beauty that they support. The magnificent seated Lincoln, the dignified standing Jefferson, their profound words carved in stone, educating, inspiring, imploring us. And like those foundations, you can't see love itself, you only see the fruits of a loving mindset. So, what thoughts and behavior necessarily flow from love? I'd like to tell you a story about the power of love. It's been on my mind a lot these past couple of years because of the massive amount of news coverage about racial strife in our country. I came to DC when I was 24 years old. After a couple of years, I realized how terrible the schools were if you were a low-income inner-city kid. I wanted to do something to help, so I started tutoring and mentoring. I got involved with an inner-city Christian program called Vision Ministries and got matched up with a 7-year-old boy named Monte. For more than 5 years, once a week during the school year, I'd drive from my house on Capitol Hill to Anacostia to meet with Monte. He was super cute, whip-smart, witty, and very charming. After tutoring one evening, Monte, who was around 10 years old at that point, asked me to take him to McDonald's for dinner. There we were, the 10-year-old African-American kid, and me, the 30-year-old bow-tie-wearing white man, hanging out eating our Big Macs in a McDonald's in Anacostia. I was the only white person there. I soon sensed a presence and looked up to find a middle-aged African-American woman kind of hovering over me. She was staring at me and clearly concerned. I look at her, she looks at me, and then she says, "What's up with you and the boy?" Well, suddenly time stood still. A bunch of thoughts raced through my brain as I tried to figure out what was happening and what I should do. Who is this lady? Why is she bothering us? Does she think I'm a pervert or a kidnapper? Should I tell her to take a hike? Does she have a problem with white people? Is she a racist? Am I a racist for thinking she might be a racist? Maybe she had seen a sign that says, "If you see something, say something." At that moment, and many times in recent years, I've asked myself a question: what should I do? Tamir Rice is shot by police in a Cleveland park, and I ask myself, what should I do? A woman is hit and killed by a white racist in his car at a rally in Charlottesville. What should I do? Worshippers are gunned down in a church in Charleston. What should I do? Cops are assassinated in New York City. What should I do? People are yelling at each other on TV, and no one is listening. What should I do? Let's go back to the McDonald's. So the lady says to me, "What's up with you and the boy?" I know what I wanted to do. I wanted to say, "Take a hike, mind your own business." I had every right to be in that McDonald's with my little buddy. Instead, I stood up. I extended my hand and I said, "Hi, I'm Chris Ullman, and this is Monte. We're in a Christian tutoring and mentoring program called Vision Ministries." Well, like Saul on the road to Damascus, the scales fell from her eyes. The relief on her face was palpable. She shook my hand and said, "We need more people like you helping kids in our community." And just as soon as she appeared, she was gone. I sat down and said to Monte, "Oh my, that was interesting." And Monte said, "Not a lot of white people in this part of town." So over the years, I've pondered, why did that situation turn out well when it could have been a disaster? Well, I'm a PR guy, so I like to think in groups of three: love, benefit of the doubt, and de-escalation. Let's look at a little more closely. Love. I was in that McDonald's in the first place because I love Monte, and I wanted to help him achieve all that he was capable of. My faith teaches me to love all of God's children, whether it's Monte, the woman who confronted me, or each of you. In the Gospel of Mark, it says, "Love your neighbor as yourself." And the great civil rights leader, Martin Luther King, who talked a lot about love, said, "Love is the only force that can transform an enemy into a friend." So love is the foundation. And just as the statues of Lincoln and Jefferson rest securely atop strong foundations, many things flow from a foundation of love, such as benefit of the doubt. If you truly love someone, even if you don't know them, you will give them the benefit of the doubt. Why should I assume the worst about that woman? How could I possibly know what's in her heart after a 5-second interaction? This is an especially important point and realization. I've had people over the years tell me the woman was clearly a racist because she targeted me because I was a white guy with a black kid in an all-black McDonald's. Simply put, I stood out, and not necessarily in a good way. My retort to these claims is that the outcome proves that she wasn't a racist. While it's reasonable to assume that she questioned me because I was white, her response, "We need more people like you helping kids in our community," clearly demonstrates that her concern was for the kid and not racial animus towards me. Simply put, if she were a racist, she wouldn't have cared what my response was, but she did. As a fellow human whom I had just met, she deserved the benefit of the doubt. In addition to benefit of the doubt flowing from a foundation of love, another positive outcome is de-escalation. When I was a kid growing up, my mother had a plaque hanging on the wall in our kitchen, and it said, "Great Spirit, grant that I might not judge my neighbor until I have walked a mile in his moccasins." And that message of empathy has seeped into my soul over the years and taught me the power of extending a hand rather than giving the finger. And I'll tell you, there are few things more powerful and de-escalating than an outstretched hand offered in friendship. So love, benefit of the doubt, de-escalation. Sounds easy, right? But we all know how difficult it is in practice. Just watch the nightly news or check out social media, and the problems, especially racial tension, seem so big, so sweeping, and so intractable that one benevolent action by one person couldn't possibly make a difference or move the needle. And that, my friends, could not be further from the truth. As Roger mentioned in his introduction, I am the 4-time international and national whistling champion. Yes, there is such a thing. So in the past 30 years, I've used that simple gift of whistling to touch people's hearts, like whistling in the Oval Office for President George W. Bush and serenading 525 people on their birthdays every year. In 2013, I did a TEDx talk on my whistling and afterwards wrote a book called Find Your Whistle, Simple Gifts Touch Hearts and Change Lives. That talk and the book capture many of my whistling stories, which are funny and crazy, while the thread that ties them all together is that everyone, including you, has a simple gift that can make the world a better place, one person at a time. And that one person at a time part is really important. I think we have a superhero-centric culture. We love our heroes, people in sports, the arts, politicians, you name it. Now, don't get me wrong, I have my heroes as well. Beethoven is at the top of the list. But there are simply not enough heroes out there to solve the world's problems. The problems are too big and too plentiful. What's needed is for us, the mere mortals, to find our gifts, develop them, and share them with the people we encounter day in and day out. Love, I believe, is the ultimate simple gift we can share with the people we interact with on a daily basis. Think about it. From the moment we wake up to the time we go to bed, we cross paths with literally scores of people. Our spouses, partners, siblings, parents, baristas, strangers on the metro, cab drivers, colleagues, bosses, subordinates, homeless people, fellow TFAS students, friends, and so on. What if we decided to share the simple gift of love with them, one person at a time, especially when people are different from us, or in a tricky race-related situation like the one in the McDonald's? If we love them, we would necessarily do any number of things. We would do more listening and less talking. We would ask more questions and make fewer statements. We would presume innocence. We would assume good motives. We would revel in the wonder and beauty of our shared humanity, but our differences as well. We would give people the benefit of the doubt. We would de-escalate tense situations. We would be nice. And perhaps most importantly, we would acknowledge our own imperfections, cut people a little slack, and hope they did the same for us. I'd like to give a tangible example of how this can work using a hot topic, Black Lives Matter. Say you're at an event at your school this coming fall, and there's a black woman wearing a Black Lives Matter t-shirt at a rally or just walking down the street. A white woman walks up to her and declares, well, white lives matter, blue lives matter, all lives matter. While all those statements are accurate, they miss the point. Imagine the black woman's t-shirt said, strawberry ice cream is yummy. I doubt many people would get in her face and declare that cookies and cream is yummy too. The point is thoughtful discourse. The point of thoughtful discourse is to share, to learn, and to solve problems, not score points. Making declarations and poking people in the eye can feel good at that moment, but it's a real conversation killer, inflaming feelings and emotions rather than de-escalating a tense situation. As a society, we need to get away from the poking and embrace the loving. So, I believe the best and proper response to the declaration that Black Lives Matter is, you're right, Black lives do matter. Full stop. Then a great follow-up could be, tell me your story. It's the equivalent of me extending my hand to the woman in the McDonald's. It de-escalates, it shifts the discussion from me to you. It's a simple gesture that says, I care about you as a person. Remember, as Roger noted, 2 ears, 1 mouth, more listening, less talking. I hope all this talk about love and gifts and empowerment is getting you thinking about your own simple gifts. If you're not sure what it is, here's my 3-step method for discovering it. First, think small. Get away from the superhero-centric, change the world mentality. Next, do a survey of your skills, your interests, abilities, and see how they intersect with people over time. And ask people who know you what they think your gifts are. And finally, be courageous. Get out there. Share your whistle, your gift, with the person next to you. And if you're still skeptical of the power of the simple gift, here's a really sweet example. Recently, after I gave a talk about my book, a man came up to me and said he wanted to tell me what his whistle was. I was very excited to hear this. He travels a lot for work and often goes to conferences, which inevitably have evening receptions. At those receptions, he looks for the person, drink in hand, standing off to the side, not talking to anyone. His whistle? He goes up to those people and talks to them. makes them feel special and comfortable. It's so simple, but so powerful. He's not changing the world, but he's changing the world of that one person. Today is a special day. Your vision, your work, and your accomplishments, and the support of your families have brought you to this point. On behalf of the Fund for American Studies, I wish you much continued success. May these diplomas and congratulations and awards always remind you of the people, experiences, and lessons of your brief but powerful time in the nation's capital. Please know that we are rooting for you and that you will always be a part of the TFAS family and network. So in conclusion, some of you, probably the parents who are here, may remember David Letterman's late night show when he would feature stupid human tricks. I have an awesome stupid human trick. I can whistle with my mouth closed. And I will demonstrate it for you. First, we need a sip of water. This is graduate level whistling, okay? Well, darn, I guess you can't hear anything. Why is that? It's because my whistle works best when I open my lips and let the sound out. It's the same with each of your simple gifts. If we keep them to ourselves, we'll never make the impact that we are capable of making in the lives of the people around us. So, my friends, as you build a life that enables you to be your best and to achieve your dreams, please remember the power you have to make the world a better place, one person at a time. Now, go find your whistle, and while you're at it, love your neighbor. Thank you very much. Keep the crowd happy, they say. Okay. All right. Some of you may have heard this already, but I just love this song so much. It's Belle from Beauty and the Beast. All right. There we go.
I don't know what to say. But I sure as hell know what not to whistle. I had no idea of Chris's remarks, and I think they are absolutely and totally profound. As we sit here roughly 5 blocks from the White House, a mile and 5 blocks from the Capitol of the United States, a mile and 6 blocks from the Supreme Court, and between all of that, the national news media, it just seems like to me your message is exactly the message this nation needs to hear. Let me try to weave a few things together here that have been said today, but going back to your first day with us at orientation. into a fabric that I hope you can take with you. Roger was right. When we met at orientation at Founders Hall at George Mason, I said this will be the fastest 8 weeks of your life. Roger modifies that today, and I think quite wisely so, as the fullest 8 weeks of your life. But each of you, when you go out the doors here today, will experience many 8 weeks of your life. And as I said at orientation, every single 8 weeks consists of the same number of weeks and days and hours and minutes and seconds and nanoseconds as every other 8. It is just that this has been such a remarkable experience for you, we hope, and that you have achieved what your goals were for this 8 weeks. But as you go through the many other 8 weeks of your life, you will be expected, because it is your creation for yourself, not because it is somebody else's creation or expectation for you. What it is you need to do, wish to do, want to do every day. When you are a young parent, you have no idea what I'm about to say. There will be some days that you think lasted for a week, when everything just wasn't quite working out and it just seemed like the day and the night would never end. We parents know that for sure. But you will have those days. But when you take your own son or daughter to college at the age of 18, those 18 years will have seemed to you to be only a few months. They go so quickly, and life does go quickly. And so you need to fill your life with everything you possibly can. And luck has a lot to do with it. Planning has a lot to do with it. Context, frameworks, all of those things have much to do with it. But inside of yourself, you have the capacity, as just given to you here, to say, I don't have to be caught up in all of that, whether it's the evening news or the morning paper or whatever. I can be caught up in what is inside of me as an approach to life. And truly, the admonition of the importance of love is critically important to the success of that. When we met at Founders Hall, actually it was called Founders Hall on the website when we started the process of you applying. By the time we got there, it was Van Meter Hall. What happened? Someone with substantial wealth had given a grant to George Mason University, and the recognition was to rename that hall. And yet, the importance of that to you is that that person or that family, his corporation, her corporation, their corporation, had created thousands of jobs for people, millions of dollars in income for those people, and changed their lives. And so they were able to give back. And for you as a college student, what that means is people give of their own largesse to public and private universities, is it helps them reduce, hopefully, those burdens which you bear in the form of tuition. But that's not the point of me saying that. The point of me saying that is that somebody, an engineer, I would assume, perhaps a businessman, I don't know that much about the Van Meter family, but somebody had a dream. They had a dream of what they wanted to do with their life. And it brings me, all of you here, because of your age, you have a great deal of interest in popular songs, right? You flip on the radio, you put on the whatever it may be. And there is a singer by the name of Alicia Moore, and probably no one out there knows anything about a singer by the name of Alicia Moore. And that is because she considered her name and decided she would have the professional name of Pink. And so everybody knows about her genre. But on the radio today, there is this wonderful song that comes from the movie The Showman about the life of P.T. Barnum. And it talks about the criticality of having a dream in your own life that you would seek to fulfill, just like Barnum did. And the lyrics of that are, I think, worth repeating here. I close my eye, and by the way, I asked Pink to join me on stage today, and I sent the email, and I don't know why I haven't had a response. Maybe it went in the spam filter, I don't know. But let me read these lyrics. I close my eyes and I can see a world is waiting up for me that I can call my own. Through the dark, through the door, through where no one's been before. 'Cause every night I lie in bed, the brightest colors fill my head. A million dreams are keeping me awake. Steve Jobs had such a dream. The man whose son founded this organization, Thomas Edison's son, Charles Edison. We began as the Charles Edison Youth Fund. He had a dream. He had, by the time he finished at the patent office, over 1,000 dreams because they had all been patented for the light bulb and the phonograph and everything else. But that's what we need each of you to do, is to have that dream that leads you forward, that unites with other people's dreams to improve humanity and the combination of the improvement of humanity. You look at Steve Jobs, for example, and there are many, many, I don't mean just to choose him, where he has given us a means for the entire world to be in communication, if they choose, with everyone else, receiving and giving and uniting. Because if there's any place where globalization truly exists today, it is in communications. But they all begin with each one of you, not me, not any of us here, with you. This desire to have a dream of what you're going to do. You add to that formula this concept of love. You know, I am a Washington lawyer. I have been here for a long time. I have seen politicians come and go. I have seen presidents, congressmen, senators, et cetera, come and go. But we now live in an era where it is said that we've never seen such animosity, such lack of partisanship, such lack of cooperation. But I came here during a presidential year once, and it seemed just as bad then. But we transcend all of that. We bridge this great division we have in this country today. If we can unite our dreams and our concept of love and patience with a desire to help each other in the process. Thank you very much.
That concludes our ceremony, right? Unless you want to show the presentation again. Thank you again. You are now officially alumni of the Fund for American Studies.